Becky Higgins. Before I get into the meat of what this video is really all about, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what my personal approach is for scrapbooking with my own memories and my family's memories. Keep in mind that as I share ideas with you, this is definitely not my way of saying you should do this or this is the best way or anything like that. I just want to give you some ideas to consider as you go about tackling your own family memories. There are two main approaches that I have. And keep in mind, I've been scrapbooking and I've been doing this since I was 17. So I've been through a lot of different methods and I've done every size of scrapbook that you can think of. But I have really lately settled into a very solid routine of what works for me and what feels right and is a good fit for my family. One of the approaches that I have in memory keeping right now these days that's working for me is a family yearbook in the style of a photo book. We've just partnered up with Shutterfly now, but this is an example of what I've done in past years. This is from 2008. This is from 2011 that I just did last year. And the idea with the family yearbook is that at a glance, you get to see the full year in pictures and memories and stories for our family, meaning there's a lot of together type of memories. The other thing that I do, which we will spend the majority of this video talking about, is I create scrapbooks for every individual child in our family. By doing this, they each will have a complete record and a series of albums that is the documentation of their life. One of the most frequently asked questions that I get is usually a little bit more of a request, not so much a question. And the request that I get is, please help me with my kids' stuff. The pictures, the memorabilia, the school papers, the school pictures, the artwork, the this, the that. There's so much stuff that comes with our kids. I totally get that. I'm in the same boat and I have a similar challenge. Even though everyone's situation is different, some of you might have your first child on the way and you're not there yet. Some of you have 7 or 8 kids and you're trying to catch up on all of their stuff. Everyone has a different situation. And so I'm hoping with this video that you will find the wheel spinning in your head about what you want to do to tackle your own individual and personalized challenge. Okay, so when I say challenge, I want to keep it in the positive. It's a good challenge because you and we want to do something with our kids' stuff. This is a good thing, but it is tricky to figure out how to do it, organizationally speaking. But this is part of why I've developed Project Life and why I'm continuing to bring products that will help specifically with school and childhood stuff. But part of the process of developing those products is actually going through the motions of my own journey and trying to get my kids' things organized and listening to what your concerns are. So that's the purpose of this video, is I'm actually going to go through this process and see what I have, what my challenges are, what I need, and expect some dialogue with you, and hopefully you'll feel welcome and open to sharing your own thoughts and ideas. But I want to take you through this journey so that you can see there are some things that you'll relate to and there are some things that you'll feel very strongly, that's not for me, I'm going to try something else instead. So come along, let's try this together, and we're going to try and tackle all of our kids' stuff. The first step I think that anyone can relate to is to assess what you have and what you've done. So what that means is you need to go through and look at everything that you have with regards to your kids' stuff, but also with regards to any scrapbooking that you've done or picture taking or whatever you've been doing and collecting. So I'll go ahead and show you my own assessment. This is not scripted. I'm just doing this and going through the motions with you, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you what I've done so far, okay? So right now at a glance, and most of you have seen pictures of my office, you see all these albums, and it looks like Becky has it all together. Lies. I don't have it all together. I have a lot of scrapbooking done, and that's terrific, but as far as my kids' albums, that's what I want to point out, okay? So all these red albums are scrapbooks that I've done, traditional scrapbook pages over many, many years. But if you come down here, this is where I have my kids' books. The blue binders right here are Cruz. Cruz, our little guy, he is just 3. Yellow is Claire, she's 6. and green is Porter. He's almost 9, and that's how I've decided to go ahead and organize the kids' books. But they're not all done, and they're certainly not kept up and updated. Let me show you what I mean. So this is Porter's latest album, and this is from 2007, so we're talking 4 years ago is when I did this. And you'll notice that the scrapbook pages are traditional creative layouts, and this is what I did for years and years and years, and I have to tell you, I love that I did this. I have no regrets whatsoever about scrapbooking this way. It was definitely a creative outlet for me. It was a really fun way to kind of add my own personal flavor to his book, and I will always be so grateful that I spent years doing it this way. I've just become busier, more practical, and I simply don't have the time that I used to have for creating scrapbook pages like that. So that's why I developed Project Life, and that's why we're moving forward with that. Now let me point out that this is, it might look familiar to you, this is what I developed years ago as a school kit when I was with Creating Keepsakes. So this was kind of what I did a long time ago, and I learned a lot through that process, but it was still having to put pages together and scrapbooking. So, and scrapbook them and you know, paste things around and figure out where things go. So the new Project Life school and childhood related products are not the same because they're going to be very Project Life oriented. So this goes back, and what I mean by that is, you know, slip it in, get it done, okay? These are more traditional pages. You get the idea. This is when Crew was born. So this is kind of, after Crew was born was really when I was starting to kind of fizzle out. You know, I had 3 kids now. I was doing a lot as a new mom again. And this is kind of where it seems to taper off. So Porter was in kindergarten, and that's it. This is kind of what I have left. And these are some of the kit components from that school kit that I developed years ago that I haven't done anything with. So really, I am stuck with, you know, 3 or 4 years ago is the last I did anything for Porter. And the same goes for Claire and Crew, and I kind of left off at that point. This is Crew's book, and I labeled it already saying 0 to 3, meaning this would be able to fit the first 3 years of his life. And I think that a lot of you will appreciate that this is what his baby book looks like for real. I've not even done the title page. I started to do kind of a month at a glance. And yeah, I didn't make it very far. This is the 2nd month. This is the 3rd month. This is the 4th month. Okay, so my baby is not scrapbooked, and I did a random month for a layout example, but you can see that my baby is not, his documentation has not happened because a lot was happening during that time, and it wasn't long after that I actually started Becky Higgins LLC with my husband, and we started doing Project Life. So a lot evolved and changed, and through that process, our sweet boy has not been scrapbooked. So lots of pictures, lots of journaling and documentation going on, lots of home videos. But as far as the actual scrapbook, you now see this is my real life situation. My real life challenge is that I have 3 kids, and my youngest, who is 3 years old, has really nothing to show in the form of a scrapbook yet, but I'm ready to change that. So that's a look at what I've done, but I also talked about assessing what you have. I have a lot of stuff that has been collecting, and I haven't been doing anything with it. And so as you can see, this is an illusion of how organized I am, but real life is happening up here where I'm collecting things. And I want you to see for real what's going on here is I have stacks of this kind of stuff. Stacks and stacks and stacks of stuff that I have got to organize. The next step is to pull everything together into one place. Get it out of your closets, get it out of your drawers, get it out of shelves, wherever you have things for your kids, whether it's schoolwork, artwork, pictures that are printed, anything like that, pull it together, gather it in one place.
Busted!
I even have these boxes that I got from the Container Store that I got a while ago, one for Porter and Claire and crew, and I've been keeping a lot of their best of art in there. We're going to even grab that sort of stuff, even though it's pretty organized, and put it with the rest of the stuff. Keep in mind that when you are gathering all of your stuff, it could be on the floor, it could be on a desk. You could take over your dining room table for a few days. I'm sure your family will forgive you. For me, it didn't make sense to do it on the floor, even though I would probably prefer that just because I have little kids, and so chances are they'd go trampling right over top of all of the papers. So for me, I cleared off the space on my desk. This is where I gathered everything. And the next step at this point is where we want to start sorting per child. I have a sticky note for Porter, and for Claire, and for crew. And this, my friends, is when we're really going to start to get to work. I've got to get through this whole stack and sort everything per child. The next step is to organize. At this point, I have sorted everything per child. Here's Porter's, Claire's, and Crew's. What I'm going to do to organize is push the others aside because I'm going to take one child at a time, and I'm going to organize through all of Porter's papers, and I'm going to create piles per grade. That makes sense for me. I'm very chronological. Life happens in order. So everything that happens for Porter with regards to sports, friends, anything that happens in third grade will go in the third grade pile. I'll do the same for second, first, kindergarten, preschool, and any, of course, baby stuff and anything miscellaneous. So I'll create those piles now for him and for the other kids as well. Porter and I have finished organizing all of his stuff, and that's one thing that I would recommend is do it with your child if it's possible. It's very helpful. It's also very nostalgic for them and for you. But it was really helpful sitting down with Porter. We went through the whole stack of stuff for him, and piece by piece, we placed it where we thought it would go. So let me first explain this Post-it note. I created piles starting with a little note, and on that note it says the teacher's name, the grade that they were in, the school year, and what age they were. So this to me gave me lots of options to refer to. So as we're going through and we're sorting things, sometimes you will not remember necessarily what grade the child was in or what year it was, but you might remember who their teacher was when you look at a piece of art or a paper. And so having all those listed on a Post-it note really helps me quickly to be able to file things faster. Another thing that was really, really helpful as I was going through this is to have yearbooks on hand, and I just went and dug them up in drawers and around the house from Porter's years in school, and this was a good point of reference so that we could figure out different pictures and times as well. It surprised me that even though he's only in third grade right now, there were a couple of formal, like traditional school pictures, and I couldn't even remember what grade he was in. So this definitely came in handy for that. Okay, a little life lesson in going through this process also was it's something that I already know, and it's something that you already know, and it's definitely something that my mom always told me when I was growing up, and that is to sign and date everything that you create. Everything that you do, make sure you date it. And I now see more and more the importance of that, because while a lot of these papers were dated, and I would at least mention what year it was or what grade he was in, that of course made it very fast and easy, but there were a lot of papers that there was nothing on there at all to tell me how old he was, what grade he was in, and so it literally was between me and Porter a guessing game of what his handwriting looked like and what his art style was, and when we thought it was and who his teacher might have been, and you get the idea. So just a reminder to all of us to just date your papers. As soon as they come home from school and you think there's any potential that you're going to keep them, just really quickly write November 2011 or whatever on there, and that will be a huge help to you. Another perspective to keep as you're going through things and purging and deciding what to keep and what not, is to imagine that if your child were gone tomorrow, what would you be really glad that you held on to? And which of those items might you be okay parting with? Maybe it's because there's so many of that same kind of thing. So just something to think about. I'll give you an example. For Claire, and as I was going through her stash, she has a lot of art right now. She's 6, so it's definitely that heavy art phase for her. And there are lots of colorful drawings from you know, around the house or at school and church. She'll color sometimes. And these to me are so darling and I love them. Every single one of them is special to me and special to her, but she has so much of the same kind of stuff. And so for me, I would probably just scan these and throw them away. Whereas this one right here, it doesn't look as colorful or as exciting, but there's a story behind this and it has a lot to do with who she is. And what this was is we have a family night every week, and this was Claire's first time teaching the lesson at our family night, and it's all about nutrition and what's good food and what's bad food. And we did not help her at all, and she just went through the whole thing, wrote it out, colored it, or drew it. And so this to me is a story, and it's very, very clear, and so I would never want to part with this. What I'm doing here with Porter's stuff is I decided to take the different years that I categorized with him, and I just pushed them all aside. They still have their little Post-its on there, but I just pushed them aside, and 1 year at a time, I'm going to just do a little further sorting, and I'll explain that in a second. But just for the sake of this example, I grabbed 2nd grade, which is last year, just because that's the biggest pile, and that's kind of the biggest task to tackle at this point. But what I did is I just kind of plopped it down here, and I'm kind of subcategorizing and putting formal pictures in a pile, art in a pile, there's certificates and ribbons in a pile. There's a pile that has just random journaling notes. I have a pile for art stories where it has a picture with handwriting samples. I have a pile for the different thicker little packets that he's brought home, whether it's art or handwriting. And the reason I'm doing that is because once you spread things out, especially for a particular year or school year, then you're able to see that you have a lot of something or maybe just a little bit of something. And that really helps with purging, because if you realize that you only have one of some category, whatever that is, then you definitely want to keep that. But if you find that you have, for example, I'm just getting started and I see I really do have a lot of art for Porter. I envision that I'm going to end up scanning a lot of this and only keeping a few things. The next step that I would recommend is interesting, because you can either embrace this step and use it, or you can completely ignore it, and it really depends on your situation. You would probably skip this stage if you don't have a lot to work with. So let's just say that you have 1 or 2 kids, but they're really little, preschool, kindergarten kind of age. You really don't need to do any filing at all. You can take what you've just organized and you can go straight to the scrapbook. But for those of you who are in my situation where you have a lot more that you've organized, you have a lot more that you're dealing with, you do want to take this step because it's very helpful in the big picture of managing all that you have. And so let me just explain a little bit about what I've done here. I got these file boxes at Target, but you can find file boxes anywhere. This particular kind has a lid on top that comes off, and it has a thicker space inside for memorabilia. I'm not actually utilizing that, at least not right now, but that's the way it comes. And I got one for each of our 3 kids. And you can see where I've gotten to at this point with Porter's is I created file folders for each grade that I already showed you that I organized. So in here you can see I've got a baby file, preschool, and this is for anything that I come across that is maybe not in his scrapbook already. Preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade is in here, and all this stuff is so big it's hard to see. There's 2nd grade, and here is 3rd grade. So all of this is in here and it's organized, so I wanted to point this out because you saw kind of what my process was in organizing it, and you can see now that the filing stage is where I'm able to keep it stored and organized until I'm ready to do something with it. Now, you might be thinking, it does not look like I actually narrowed down very much, and I think you're probably right. It feels like I didn't. But the reason why is because I'm thinking about the big picture. For me, even though this is a lot more stuff, than I want to physically keep in Porter's scrapbook. Most of this will be scanned. So it's another topic for another day as far as what stuff you might scan, but that's really a personal preference. You can scan pretty much anything and toss it if it's not highly valuable. This one's Porter's, and this one is Crew's, and this one's Claire's, just to show you. I've already got his file folders labeled, and I put all of the stuff in per year, and now you can see where I've left off. I need to do the same with Claire's. So far I've just shoved it in the box, so it's at least contained in one place. And the same with Crew. He doesn't have nearly as much stuff because he's our youngest. So that's where I am right now, and this is a great way to stay organized and keep things containerized until you're ready for the final step, which is, of course, to get all of this stuff into books. The final step of this entire process, naturally, is to compile. Everything that you've been sorting and gathering and organizing is now going to have a place that it can be enjoyed. That's why we have scrapbooks. So this is the point where you get to have fun and finally take those piles and get them into something like this where you can actually look through these memories. This is the whole reason that we have developed the system of Project Life. The whole purpose of all the products that we offer is to give you a solution, to give you the products and the tools that you need to just slip things into the pockets and be done with it. We have big packs of photo pocket pages, and we have big envelope pages and page protectors of every size, journaling cards, scrapbook dividers. All of this stuff is meant to help you get things into books very easily and conveniently so that you don't have to spend a lot of time doing it. Just to show you an example of one of our products, this is a package of scrapbook dividers. It's a set of 15 of these. Very versatile for any type of scrapbooking. It doesn't have to be Project Life. But you can see here what I've done with Porter's albums is, even though I had a lot of the scrapbooking done, I've used the scrapbook dividers to label different parts of his life that I've already documented and scrapbooked. So some of these are already printed and some of them I've written on. So you can get an idea of how I've used these. Okay, let's see what it looks like to have these products put to good use. The piles that you've been gathering and sorting and organizing actually into an album. So I'll go ahead and show you some examples of what I've been doing in Porter's book, and this would be for his kindergarten year. This is how I'm using the scrapbook dividers in this particular album. You can see here that I have a year of preschool, and then this is when he was 5 years old, and now kindergarten, and that's the section that I'm going to show you. This page that I've done with Porter's main school picture for kindergarten, I'm just leaving that alone as it is. Over here you can see that the scrapbook divider is put to good use. It's labeled with kindergarten. And then everything else that you see here is what I've put together just in the last little bit in this process of organizing his pictures and art and papers and everything. So I took kindergarten specifically and decided to start going through all this stuff. This is a 6x12 page protector, and I literally just cut this paper down, and this one as well for the back. And it looks a little shorter here at the top because even though it's 6x12, once I put the paper in, I didn't need this extra inch or so at the top, so I just trimmed it off really easily. This is another 6x12 page protector. This background that you see is from the turquoise collection of cardstock, and then I just cut out something that Porter had created. And this is also from the turquoise collection of cardstock. This is a standard 8.5 by 11 page protector that I have some papers in with a list of books that he read. And then this is where you get into more of the designs that we have in the photo pocket pages. This photo pocket page design is design G, and you can see that it's actually 2 inches shorter over here, and it accommodates both vertical and horizontal pictures. And again, I just cut some things down to slip into the 4x6 spots, and I printed these pictures as 4x6, but you'll see right here, this is actually scanned stuff that I reduced in size and put 2 3x4s on a 4x6 and just cut in half to put in these 2 little pockets. And you can see I've done the same thing here. You will notice some holes in what I've done because I'm not done yet. I'm still working on it because I'm just getting to this point of adding pictures and stuff into Porter's book. But these are all scanned and reduced down here. This one's just cut to be put in. This is just cut, and this is birthday invitation and a photo that's put in, but all of this is scanned and put in. This is design B, by the way, of the photo pocket pages, with the 3 vertical spots at the top and the 3x4 spots at the bottom. So you're going to see a lot of scanned and reduced things here, and you don't have to do that, but I had a really hard time narrowing down which of Porter's art I wanted to include, because I'm such a fan of this age with art and how it's beginning, and I just love it. So I decided that I could maximize the use of my photo pocket pages by using more of these smaller pockets to reduce some of his art. So you can see how I mixed in papers and photos and scanned art. This right here is design E, and I put a handprint in there. Again, I cut down some of the papers that he wrote on. This is a piece of paper from the turquoise collection of cardstock. This is the other side of it. And again, more papers that are cut down over here, both sides, more scanned art. You get the idea. A little tip with this right here is that I actually took a picture of these pieces of art on the floor so that they were all together laid out, and I just printed that picture to put in this 6x6 spot. And this is the back of design B again. You'll see empty spots, like I said, because I'm not done yet. But this is just more stuff that I cut down and included on the pages. This is kind of a cool thing that I really loved doing, is Porter had a stack of these shape papers, which are just, you know, what you would expect out of kindergarten. But I wanted to include them, but not necessarily the full sheets. So what I did is I simply just cut them down by cutting out the name of each shape and cutting out a little sampling of the shapes that he did. And I put these clippings on 3x4 grid cards, which we sell as a separate item. Last but not least, you see here at the back of the album that this whole big envelope page right here is full of Porter's extra things from kindergarten. And it has a self-closing flap right here, which is really nice and convenient, and it does not add bulk to your scrapbook. And inside of it, of course, you can pull out all of his things. And this is just a wonderful way to keep the extra memorabilia. We have our Christmas card from that year in here. He has some awards and certificates and other things I didn't necessarily want to trim down and put into the pockets, but it can all be preserved here in this big envelope page. I feel like going from this stack right here and ultimately ending up with a beautiful album that has cherished memories in it is really a love language. Just the other day, Claire said to me, with kind of a sad tone, that she felt like I loved Porter more than her, which of course is not true, but she was saying this because she was watching me in the act of actually putting together these pages for Porter. I was working on his scrapbook, and she saw that I value his life, I value his memories, I value his stories and his pictures, and therefore I was getting it from this point to this point, which of course now is what I have to do with Claire stuff and Cruz stuff, and I have my work cut out for me. But the point is this: I can do it. You can do it. When you break it down into the simple steps I've outlined in this video, which are to first assess what you've done, number 2, gather, number 3, sort, then next you organize, then you file, and finally you get it into an album, which is to compile the memories. This is how you can break it down and really get on top of the scrapbooking and the memory keeping that you want to do. I no longer feel mom guilt. I feel like I can do this, and I know that you can do it. And the whole goal is that we get it from this stack of things that are not being enjoyed to a beautiful album with cherished memories that you can enjoy for a long time.
One love, one heart, let's get together and